You always believed that everything in life was temporary. That fight with a friend, the difficult phase at work, even the joyful moments. You thought all of it was just a phase, a cycle that would soon come to an end. But what if I told you that not everything is as fleeting as it seems? Once a woman found herself in a situation that appeared insignificant, a misunderstanding with a co-worker. She thought that in a few days, everything would be resolved. But what seemed like a simple disagreement turned into an awkward silence, an invisible barrier that grew each day. Time passed, and the words left unspoken began to weigh heavily. What was just a moment turned into a late regret. This woman realized that by underestimating the seriousness of that situation, she let slip an opportunity for reconciliation. The silence became an iceberg, hiding emotional depths she hadn't considered. The pain of the unspoken and the burden of regret began to accumulate. With each passing day, the distance between them widened, and the chance to resolve the situation faded away. What we often don't realize is that situations that seem temporary can have a lasting impact. Life is filled with small moments that, if ignored, can turn into open wounds. The unspoken words echo in our minds, and the unperformed gestures become ghosts that haunt our memories. Over time, this woman recognized that the illusion that everything was temporary caused her to lose more than just a friendship. She lost the chance to reconcile, to learn from the situation, and to grow. The weight of regret became a constant companion, a shadow that followed her every step. What was meant to be temporary turned into a burden she carried. It's easy to fall into the trap of temporary illusion. We believe that time will solve everything, but the truth is that it can create irreparable distances. The pain of separation and the emptiness of unspoken words can become a reality you didn't expect to face. By underestimating the seriousness of a situation, you may give up something very valuable. Reflecting on these experiences is essential. What have you learned from them? What silences do you still carry? Instead of believing that everything will resolve itself over time, perhaps it's time to confront the icebergs in your life. Don't let the temporary illusion turn into an eternal regret. This woman, over time, understood that it takes courage to face what lies beneath the surface. And in doing so, she not only freed herself from her own ghosts, but also created space for healing and reconciliation. Life is made up of moments, and each one is worth living fully, without letting fear or uncertainty stop you from acting. What will you do with your moments? Are they fleeting or eternal? Think about it, as the answer could shape your future in ways you never imagined. Reflecting on unspoken silences and late regrets is an invitation to action. Often, situations that seem trivial can turn into emotional barriers that separate us from the people who truly matter. When you look back, what unresolved interactions come to mind? What words got stuck in your throat waiting for a moment that never arrived? It's essential to understand that communication is the bridge that connects emotions. When dialogue is interrupted, that bridge begins to crumble. The woman who let her disagreement drag on was not just dealing with a confrontation. She was allowing time to create a chasm between herself and her colleague. What could have been a simple conversation turned into a maze of resentments and misunderstandings. This experience is not unique. Many people go through similar situations in their lives. A misunderstanding with a longtime friend, an unexpressed criticism to a partner, or a conflict in the workplace can leave deep marks. These interactions, when neglected, inscribe themselves in our personal history, creating an emotional weight that accumulates over time. By ignoring the need for resolution, you may be forfeiting the opportunity to strengthen bonds or even rediscover valuable friendships. Have you ever stopped to think about what could happen if you allowed yourself to be vulnerable? If you were willing to start a difficult conversation, to expose your insecurities or to apologize, even if the situation wasn't entirely your fault? Vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. It opens the door to empathy and understanding. By showing a willingness to communicate, you not only position yourself as someone who values the relationship, but you also inspire the other person to do the same. However, inertia is a powerful force. The fear of confronting the truth, the apprehension of a negative response, or the belief that time will heal everything can be significant obstacles. This woman, for instance, found herself trapped in a cycle of doubt. She questioned whether it was worth exposing herself, whether the other person was willing to listen, and whether the conversation would really bring about any positive change. These thoughts kept her paralyzed, allowing silence to transform into an ever-growing wall. The reality is that time does not resolve everything. He can, on one hand, soften the pain, but he can also harden resentment. What started as a minor disagreement can turn into deep-seated resentment and eventually lead to the breakdown of a relationship that could have been valuable. It's important to remember that relationships are like plants. They need constant care to thrive. If you don't water and nurture them, they wither and can die. When you encounter uncomfortable situations, it's vital to take action. Ask yourself, what's at stake here? What could you lose if you don't act? Sometimes the loss is more than just a friendship. It's the loss of an opportunity for learning, growth, and genuine connection. The cost of remaining silent can be higher than you imagine. In a world where communication is facilitated by technology, we still find emotional barriers that prevent us from truly connecting. Text messages and emails can be a starting point, but nothing compares to the power of a face-to-face conversation. Looking someone in the eye, exchanging facial expressions, and the energy that flows between two people cannot be replicated by words typed on a screen. Personal dialogue allows you to feel empathy and connection in a way that written words often fail to achieve. If you find yourself in a similar situation, consider what is holding you back from reaching out. What do you fear? Rejection, the pain of hearing something you don't want to hear. Recognizing these fears is an important step. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to face it. By doing so, you create space for healing, both for yourself and for the other person. Look around you. Which relationships are at risk of deteriorating due to unspoken silences? It could be a friend you haven't seen in a while, a family member you haven't contacted, or a colleague you're avoiding. Don't wait for time to resolve these issues. Time can be an ally, but it can also be a thief of opportunities. Life is made up of choices. Every day that passes is a new opportunity to connect, restore, and heal. If you have something to say, don't put it off until tomorrow. Tomorrow may not come for everyone, and the chance to express yourself can slip away. What can you do today to resolve a misunderstanding or to express feelings that have been bottled up for too long? Sometimes, all we need is a little push to get started. A simple "I'm sorry" or "Can we talk?" can open the door to a transformative conversation. Don't underestimate the power of words. They have the ability to heal deep wounds and restore connections that seemed lost. So instead of resigning yourself to the idea that everything is temporary, choose to take action. Face your silences, embrace vulnerability, and let communication be the key to reconciliation. Every moment is an opportunity for growth, and life is richer when we live fully, without allowing the fear of confrontation to hold us back. What will you do with your moments? Life is made up of choices, and often we face situations that require us to take an active stance. Unspoken silences and accumulated regrets can turn into barriers that distance us from the people who truly matter. When someone feels hurt, the usual response is withdrawal. Instead of seeking dialogue, we often opt for silence, believing it to be safer. However, this choice frequently comes at a high emotional cost. When you choose not to communicate, you are, in fact, giving up the chance to resolve conflicts and strengthen bonds. It's common to think that time will heal everything, but this belief can be misleading. What actually happens is that over time, resentment can take root, creating a chasm larger than what initially existed. This woman, by leaving her words unspoken, allowed silence to become a weight that accompanied her daily. She wasn't alone. Many of us carry this burden without realizing it. Reflecting on interpersonal relationships is crucial. In a world so connected, where communication is just a few taps away, why do we still hesitate to open up? The fear of rejection, insecurity, and uncertainty about the other person's response can paralyze us. However, it's essential to remember that communication is an act of courage. By expressing your feelings, you not only free yourself from an emotional burden, but also give the other person the opportunity to understand your perspective. It's true that a conversation can be uncomfortable, but the temporary discomfort can lead to a resolution that brings peace and understanding. By facing the situation, you not only stand your ground, but also create space for the other person to do the same. Vulnerability becomes a bond that unites people, allowing them to understand and reconnect with one another. This woman, upon reflecting on her situation, realized that the pain of what was left unsaid was far greater than the pain that could come from an honest conversation. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you're creating an environment where empathy can flourish. The willingness to engage in dialogue can transform a conflict into a learning experience, an opportunity for personal and emotional growth. But for that, you need to have the courage to take the first step. Ask yourself, what's at stake here? What can you lose if you don't act? This reflection can help put into perspective the importance of communication. Additionally, it's crucial to understand that relationships are not static. They require constant care and attention. What may seem like a small misunderstanding today can, if neglected, grow into an irreparable rift. This woman realized that by ignoring the problem, she was allowing it to become a wound in her life. Lack of communication not only hinders conflict resolution, but can also lead to the loss of valuable friendships and meaningful connections. Life is short and full of uncertainties. We cannot predict what the future holds for us, which is why we need to act in the present. A simple gesture, like a message or a call, can be the beginning of a reconciliation. Don't wait for people to guess what you're feeling or thinking. Clear and honest communication is the only way to ensure that your emotions are understood. By expressing what you feel, you are giving voice to what often gets buried inside. Words hold immense power. They can heal, unite, and transform. Instead of allowing silence to dominate your relationships, choose to communicate. Ask yourself, what's stopping me from speaking? Sometimes the answer may be inertia itself, the fear of confronting the truth. The courage to open up can be the key to freeing yourself from an emotional burden, bringing relief and clarity. Consider the possibility that by addressing an uncomfortable situation, you may not only liberate yourself, but also give the other person a chance to express themselves. This dialogue can open doors that were once closed. A sincere conversation can transform a misunderstanding into an opportunity for learning and growth. What could have been a conflict becomes a space for building a stronger, healthier bond. Through her journey of reflection, this woman understood that life is made up of moments that deserve to be lived fully. Every interaction is an opportunity for connection, learning, and healing. Instead of resigning herself to the idea that everything is fleeting, she decided to take action. By confronting her silences and making room for vulnerability, she not only freed herself from her own ghosts, but also fostered healing in the relationships that mattered to her. Life is full of opportunities. Each day presents a chance to reconnect with loved ones, resolve lingering conflicts, and express feelings that have been kept inside for too long. Time is not an ally that solves everything. It is a resource that, if not used wisely, can lead to the loss of valuable moments. If you have something to say, don't wait until tomorrow. Tomorrow may not come for everyone, and the chance to express yourself may fade away. What can you do today to resolve a misunderstanding or to express hidden feelings? Remember that true freedom comes from communication. Every moment is an opportunity for growth, and life is richer when we live it fully, without letting the fear of confrontation hold us back. Choosing to communicate, to open up, and to face what lies beneath the surface is an act of courage that can change the course of your life and your relationships. So rather than resigning yourself to silence, choose to take action. What will you do with your moments? Are they fleeting or eternal? The answer to that question might shape your future in ways you never imagined. Have you ever paused to think about the conversations that never happened? The dialogues that could have changed the trajectory of your relationships? Often the opportunities for connection are right in front of us, but fear and hesitation keep us from seizing them. So what can you do to turn those situations into meaningful moments? It's essential to recognize that every interaction, no matter how simple it seems, carries the potential to create deeper bonds. Have you ever felt you had something to say but hesitated? That hesitation is common. What holds you back from taking action is the uncertainty about how the other person will react, or the doubt about whether your words will have any impact. The truth is that often, what you fear is not the other person's response, but the discomfort of exposing your vulnerability. By allowing yourself to be honest about your emotions, you not only express what you truly feel, but also create space for the other party to open up. This can lead to a transformative dialogue. When you find yourself in an uncomfortable situation, think about what is at stake. What could you lose if you don't act? The loss can be more than just a friendship. It can be the opportunity for growth and learning from the experience. Upon reflecting on this, you may realize that the cost of silence is much higher than that of communication. Life is short, and relationships are precious. If you let fear stop you from communicating, you might end up losing valuable people in your life. Each day is a new chance to reconnect, restore, and heal. What can you do today? A simple "I'm sorry" or "Can we talk" can open the door to a new understanding. Furthermore, it's important to remember that communication isn't just about words. The tone of your voice, your body language, and your willingness to listen also play a fundamental role. When you approach someone with empathy and openness, you create an environment conducive for the other person to feel comfortable sharing their own feelings. This woman who let her misunderstanding linger realized that the lack of communication not only prevented her from resolving the conflict, but also made her feel isolated. Silence can create an invisible barrier, but it can also present the opportunity for a new beginning. By allowing herself to be vulnerable, she not only freed herself from her own insecurities, but also offered the other person a chance to open up. Have you ever thought about how a simple gesture, like sending a message or making a call, can break the silence? Imagine how this can change the dynamic of a relationship. Often, the expectation of a negative response holds us back from acting, but that expectation is often unfounded. When you open up to communication, you give the other person a chance to express themselves and often to reconcile. Remember, communication is a two-way street. By opening up, you not only express your emotions but also create space for the other person to do the same. This can lead to a deeper understanding and stronger connections. When facing an uncomfortable situation, ask yourself, what's at stake here? The answer may surprise you. Furthermore, vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a strength. When you share your insecurities, you allow the other person to see the human side of the situation. This can create a deeper connection where both feel understood and valued. By demonstrating this willingness, you also inspire the other person to open up. It's true that facing the truth can be uncomfortable, but this momentary pain is often necessary to achieve a more meaningful resolution. What could be a simple conversation can transform into an opportunity for learning and growth. By allowing yourself to be vulnerable, you not only position yourself but also create space for the other person to do the same. The woman who ignored her misunderstanding was not just dealing with a conflict, she was allowing time to create a chasm between her and her colleague. What could have been a simple conversation turned into a maze of resentments and misunderstandings. This experience is common, and that's why it's up to you to decide whether you want to repeat this cycle or break it. If you find yourself in a similar situation, consider what is preventing you from reaching out. The fear of rejection or the pain of hearing something you don't want to may be paralyzing. Recognizing these fears is an important step towards healing. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to face it. By doing so, you create a space for healing, both for yourself and for others. Look around you. Which relationships are at risk of deteriorating because of unspoken silences? It could be a friend you haven't seen in a while, a family member you haven't reached out to, or a colleague you are avoiding. Don't wait for time to resolve these issues. Time can be an ally, but it can also be a thief of opportunities. As you reflect on your relationships, consider how communication can be a powerful tool. What can you do today to resolve a misunderstanding or express feelings that have been bottled up for too long? This reflection can help you put into perspective the importance of communication. Every passing day is a new chance to connect, restore, and heal. Finally, remember that life is about choices. Each interaction is a chance for growth, learning, and healing. Instead of resigning yourself to the idea that everything is temporary, choose to take action. Face your silences, embrace vulnerability, and let communication be the key to reconciliation. Every moment is an opportunity for growth, and life is richer when we live fully, without letting the fear of confrontation hold us back. What will you do with your moments? Life is filled with moments that demand our attention, and often our courage. It's easy to get lost in the routine, believing that the challenges and misunderstandings we face are just part of daily life. However, every unresolved situation is a missed opportunity for growth and learning. By ignoring the need for communication, you may be distancing yourself not only from important people, but also from experiences that could enrich your life. When faced with a conflict, your first reaction might be to retreat. It's natural to feel uncomfortable in situations that require vulnerability. However, this discomfort is a sign that something needs to be addressed. Confronting these moments head-on, rather than avoiding them, is crucial for building healthy relationships. The willingness to engage in dialogue and resolve outstanding issues can be the key that opens doors to a deeper understanding. Communication is not just an exchange of words, it is also a form of connection. When you speak openly about your feelings, you create a space for the other person to feel comfortable expressing themselves. This not only helps resolve the conflict, but also strengthens the bond between the parties involved. Human relationships are complex and often require a conscious effort to maintain. When a misunderstanding arises, it is essential to recognize that resolution will not happen on its own. Consider how you would feel if you were in the other person's position. What would you want the person to do if they were in your shoes? This empathy is vital for creating an open dialogue. By putting yourself in the other person's shoes, you might realize that your concerns and fears are shared. This mutual understanding can be the necessary push to initiate the conversation you've been avoiding. It's also important to be prepared for the possibility that the conversation may not go exactly as you expect. Sometimes emotions can run high, and the discussion may become more intense than anticipated. However, this should not discourage you. Open and honest dialogue is a step towards healing. Facing the reality of emotions can be painful, but it's a necessary process for reconciliation. One of the biggest traps we face is the expectation that things will resolve themselves on their own. Many people believe that with time, feelings will soften and wounds will heal. However, the truth is that time can create emotional distances that become difficult to bridge. It's important to take action before the situation worsens. Every day that passes without communication is a day when resentment can grow and become an unbearable burden. When you choose not to act, you are in fact opting to stay in your comfort zone. This choice may feel safe, but in the long run, it can lead to deep regrets. What could have been a simple conversation transforms into an emotional chasm. That woman who allowed her misunderstanding to drag on was not only losing a friendship, she was distancing herself from an opportunity for learning and personal growth. It's essential to reflect on your own relationships. What silences are you still carrying? What unresolved interactions weigh on your conscience? These questions require an honest examination of your life and choices. By addressing the silences, you can pave the way for understanding and empathy, not only towards others but also towards yourself. The courage to communicate is a skill that can be developed. Start small. It can be as simple as sending a message to someone you've lost touch with or calling a friend you haven't seen in ages. These actions may seem simple, but they can have a significant impact. Every step towards communication is a step towards reconciliation and healing. Remember that you are not alone in this process. Many people face similar difficulties in their relationships. By sharing your experiences, you can find support and understanding. Talking openly about your insecurities and fears can not only help you feel lighter, but also encourage others to do the same. Vulnerability becomes a bridge that connects you to others, allowing everyone to feel safer in expressing their emotions. Moreover, the practice of open communication can bring unexpected benefits. By allowing yourself to be vulnerable, you may discover new dimensions in your relationships. Friendships can grow stronger, and family bonds can deepen. Your willingness to engage in dialogue can also inspire others to open up, creating an environment of trust and empathy. Life is short, and the opportunities to connect and reconcile are precious. Don't underestimate the power of a simple gesture or word. Sometimes all we need is a "I'm sorry" or a "Can we talk?" to initiate the change we wish to see in our lives. So, instead of letting time pass without taking action, choose to communicate. By facing your silences and embracing vulnerability, you not only promote healing in your relationships, but also allow yourself to grow as a person. Life is about choices, and each moment is a learning opportunity. Rather than resigning yourself to the idea that everything is temporary, choose to take action. What will you do with your moments? Are they fleeting or eternal? The answer to this question can shape your future in ways you never imagined. When faced with the need to communicate, many people hesitate. It's natural to feel butterflies in your stomach when thinking about broaching a sensitive subject. The fear of conflict, rejection, or being misunderstood can be paralyzing. However, it is essential to understand that this hesitation can be costly. What could have been a simple conversation turns into an emotional burden, harming not only yourself but also those around you. Relationships require ongoing effort to be maintained. When a misunderstanding arises, the first reaction might be to avoid the situation, but this often leads to a build-up of resentment. Over time, what could have been resolved with an open conversation can turn into an emotional chasm. Therefore, the willingness to engage in dialogue should be a priority. It's important to remember that communication is not limited to expressing words. It also involves active listening. Listening to the other side is crucial for true understanding. By opening yourself up to dialogue, you not only express your concerns, but also give the other person the opportunity to share their perspective. This space for exchange is vital for conflict resolution. Moreover, the practice of open communication is a skill that can be developed over time. Each interaction is an opportunity to enhance this ability. Start with small conversations and gradually move into more complex topics as you feel more comfortable. By doing so, you create an environment of trust where people feel safe to open up. What often happens is that people expect others to guess their emotions and thoughts. This expectation is unrealistic and often results in misunderstandings. When you don't express what you're feeling, the other person may interpret your hesitation as disinterest or disdain. This is why it's crucial to be clear and direct in communication. When a misunderstanding occurs, it's essential to address the issue as quickly as possible. The longer you wait, the harder reconciliation may become. Emotions tend to intensify over time, and resentment can take root, creating barriers that are challenging to overcome. By acting swiftly, you demonstrate that you value the relationship and are willing to work to resolve the problem. Think about the relationships in your life. Which ones are at risk due to unspoken silences? It could be a longtime friend you haven't reached out to, a family member you haven't spoken to in months, or a co-worker you're avoiding. These unresolved interactions can turn into an emotional burden that you carry, affecting your overall quality of life. If you find yourself in a situation where you need to communicate, ask yourself, what's at stake? What might you lose if you don't take action? Reflecting on this can provide the motivation needed to take the initiative. Often, the cost of staying silent is greater than the discomfort of opening the dialogue. The courage to communicate can lead to unexpected benefits. Allowing yourself to be vulnerable can open doors to new connections. An honest conversation can turn a misunderstanding into an opportunity for learning and growth. You may find that the other person was waiting for the same thing, but hesitated to start the conversation. Moreover, the act of communicating is a way of caring for yourself. When you express your emotions, you're freeing yourself from a weight. This release can bring significant relief, allowing you to focus on other areas of your life. Communication is an act of care for both yourself and others. As you reflect on your relationships, it's crucial to keep in mind that every interaction is an opportunity to strengthen bonds. This means that you should be willing to invest time and energy in communication. Don't expect things to resolve themselves. Take the initiative to engage in dialogue. This proactive attitude can result in strengthened relationships and a healthier environment for everyone. Moreover, vulnerability should not be seen as a weakness, but rather as an act of courage. By opening up, you allow others to see your human side. This can create a deeper connection where both parties feel understood and valued. This connection is essential for strengthening relationships. Over time, the willingness to communicate can become a habit. As you grow more comfortable expressing your feelings, you may find that this not only improves your personal relationships, but also enhances your emotional well-being. Clear and honest communication is a powerful tool that can transform your life. Finally, don't underestimate the impact that a simple conversation can have. Sometimes all we need is a "I'm sorry" or "Can we talk?" to initiate meaningful change. Life is made up of choices, and every moment is an opportunity for learning. Instead of resigning yourself to the idea that everything is temporary, choose to take action. Confront your silences and let communication be the key to reconciliation. Every moment is a chance for growth, and life is richer when we live fully without letting the fear of confrontation hold us back. Therefore, reflect on your relationships and take the reins of your communication. What will you do with your moments? Are they fleeting or eternal? This choice can shape your future in ways you never imagined. When you decide to address a delicate situation, it's important to remember that communication is a two-way street. It's not just about expressing how you feel, but also about being open to listening to the other person. Often, what prevents people from communicating is the fear of how the other will react. This apprehension can be paralyzing, but it's crucial to understand that most people also have insecurities and fears. The first step to breaking this cycle is the willingness to engage in dialogue. When you approach someone with the intention to clear up a misunderstanding, it's essential to do so with empathy. Ask yourself how you would like to be treated in the same situation. This can help you shape your words and tone, making for a more productive conversation. Furthermore, it's vital to choose the right time for the discussion. In a calm and safe environment where both parties feel comfortable, the chances of having an open dialogue significantly increase. Avoiding confrontations during times of stress or agitation can prevent the conversation from turning into an emotional battleground. Remember, the goal is reconciliation, not defending positions. If the conversation starts to heat up, keep in mind that it's normal for emotions to surface. The important thing is to stay focused on resolution and not let the discussion devolve into personal attacks. Maintaining calmness and clarity in your words can help avoid worsening the situation. When you position yourself assertively but respectfully, you create a space where the other person will feel safe to open up as well. It's common for people to feel vulnerable when addressing a disagreement. This vulnerability can be uncomfortable, but it's also an opportunity for growth. By acknowledging your feelings and allowing yourself to be honest, you demonstrate strength and authenticity. This can encourage the other person to do the same, fostering an environment conducive to genuine dialogue. Don't underestimate the power of an apology. Often, a simple "I'm sorry" can be the key to unlocking doors that were closed. Accepting responsibility for your actions, even if you weren't the only one at fault, can have a profound impact on the relationship. It shows that you value the connection and are willing to work to restore it. It's also important to recognize that not all conversations lead to immediate resolution. Sometimes it may be necessary for both parties to take time to process what was discussed. This is normal. The most important thing is that you've taken the first step towards communication. By doing this, you are already contributing to strengthening the relationship. When you address your silences, you may find that the concerns you had were unfounded. Often, the other party is already aware of the discomfort and also wants to resolve the situation. This can lead to a deeper understanding and a stronger connection. On the other hand, if the conversation doesn't flow as expected, don't get discouraged. Sometimes people need more time to reflect on what was discussed. The important thing is that you did your part by opening up and communicating. This alone is a sign of maturity and authenticity. Moreover, over time, the practice of communication can become a skill you refine. As you become more comfortable expressing your feelings and opening up to others, you might notice a significant improvement in the quality of your relationships. Interactions become more authentic and consequently more rewarding. Lastly, it's never too late to initiate a conversation that could change the course of a relationship. If you have something to say, don't hesitate. Time can be an opportunity thief, but it can also be an ally when used wisely. Each moment is a chance to reconnect and restore. Seize this opportunity. When you communicate, you not only avoid regrets, but also build a healthier and more meaningful future for your relationships. So instead of letting silence take over, choose to take action. What will you do with your moments? Are they fleeting or eternal? This reflection may be the key to shaping your future in ways you never imagined. Before you leave, do two things now. Take a deep breath and hold on to what touched your heart today. And if it makes sense, share this story with someone else who needs to hear it too.